Ho, ho, ho. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Christmas edition of Talking Buffalo Podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. I'm your host, Patrick Moran. Thank you very much, as always, for locking in. Audio side, video side. Appreciate y'all. Today is Friday, December 23rd, 2022. I am joined, Casual Friday, as always, by my good friend, co-host, Cover One Buffalo Podcast, Aaron Quinn.
Yes, sir.
Well, you certainly, if you're watching this on the YouTube side anyway, you're looking at, you're feeling Christmas, you ready for Christmas, weather and all.
I'm Mr. Christmas, man. No matter what, nothing's gonna stop me from enjoying it. And if anything, as long as this upcoming storm here, people don't know, a huge storm about to hit basically half of the entire U.S. and Buffalo's like kind of right in the middle of it. And so if this big storm hits, as long as people aren't losing power or put in a real dangerous situation, like people don't, the traveling's a real concern this weekend. But luckily for my family, we aren't traveling here. We have people traveling after the holiday. So it could be nice if you just want to buckle down and watch some Christmas movies. That's what I'm hoping for, is where it's a storm and the worst of it that they're talking about really doesn't hit anyone with any significance. That could be nice. But a storm was about the only thing that could ruin. If the power goes out and I got to keep my family warm and negative temperatures, that could probably be the one thing that could ruin a Christmas weekend. But other than that, man, I'm full vibed, Christmas spirit, ready to go.
Thursday, so we tape this Thursday morning, and shortly, not long before we got the cameras rolling here, I did see a blizzard advisor. So that word blizzard is now officially part of the equation here.
Yeah, Buffalo's in that map of blizzard. It's like basically if you were on the east side of water right now, like on the lakes, you're going to get hammered with some snow. Whatever part of the Great Lakes it is, you're going to get hammered with something.
Buffalo, the Bills are leaving today, Thursday, to go to Chicago a day early.
And that's only like a 2-hour flight, hour and 40-minute flight to Chicago from here. That's not long.
No, it's not. No, it's not a long flight at all. It just, it would have only been a walkthrough anyway on Thursday because we play on Saturday. But still, you out of whack a little bit. But this team is used to, I think, not being able to practice and, use that word adversity a lot. But it's true with the Bills. Weather-wise, they've had to overcome a lot of adversity. So this is not something that's new to them, so to speak. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills in a little bit. But like I said, it's 2 days as you're listening to this before Christmas.
You said it was Casual Friday, Pat. I'm still kind of in my pajamas. Like I rolled out of bed. I wore this all kind of like
you take Casual Friday to heart, man. I like it.
Right now, man. Well, I got the little kids now. And it's like prime Christmas, right? Like I don't think my oldest has much magic Christmas.
For people listening, how old are your kids now?
So my oldest is going to be 7 here this winter. So he's teetering on the edge of 6. And then the other one's 4. He just turned 4 this fall. And so the little guy's just kind of figuring out the whole Santa vibe. Last year, he didn't quite get it. Now he's like right knee deep in the magic of Christmas. Totally gets everything. Awesome. Actually, the fire department was running through the neighborhood last night and they were like doing their tubs and they freaked out. They heard that Santa was coming and we rushed everybody out. We got our candy canes. Like they're knee deep in the magic. And my oldest, though, teetering on 7, he's got some buddies at school that I think are putting some stuff already in his head, and he's coming home questioning. He's still in the magic. We do the Elf on the Shelf. We do a lot of the movies. He's still got the innocence and believes in it. He knows that he's going to try to stay out for Santa, but that's not long. I realized this year, like, man, I had from basically 4 years old to 6 or 7 years old. That's like the window. And after 6, you can't protect them anymore, man. Once they're out in that elementary school vibe, there's going to be some kid with an older brother or something. There's too much strays out there. And so for parents, any parents listening, or if you're expecting or want to have kids, man, I don't regret. I spent so much time with my kids. I have no regrets, but I'm really feeling my back against the wall in like the magical Christmas, making those core fundamental memories is now, dude. And it's quick.
You're with your older one anyway. Yeah, you're at the tail end of that magic window.
When it'll still be fun. He's still gonna like Christmas is always fun, but like the magic, the sweet spot.
Yeah. When they're younger than that, they just look around dumbfounded. And I remember, which God, it feels like a lifetime ago, my kids being really, really young, and you'd buy them presents and they were more interested in the wrapping paper and the boxes than they are the toys.
They don't
And
get
then
the
they get
concepts. They don't. The movies don't make sense.
And,
Yes.
and then they get to, like I said, your age, your kid's age, where you kind of got that magic window. Then they get older.
They sing the songs themselves now. Like they know the songs and they're like humming them in their heads. Like they are part of the Christmas spirit now.
Yeah. But then they get older and then it becomes about, I don't want to say greed because kids don't really know any better. But yeah, man, they want the expensive shit. You can't get away with the kitty gifts anymore. So then now you're getting into going broke every year for Christmas.
And there's pressure to keep up. I think at a certain age, you start to develop some pressure to keep up with everybody else. We don't have that right now, which is really nice, which makes, and that's why I think some people push back on me about Christmas. And I think different life situations make you feel differently about Christmas. Right. And so I do want to respect that some people have teenagers and those teenagers have pressure to get gifts. And like, that can feel frustrating. We're not there yet. I'm still in a real innocent spot. I can go to Dollar Tree and fill my kid's stocking for like $12 and he's going to have the best day of his life.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's part of that sweet spot when I'm talking about that, like that magical spot. Yeah, they get older and then it becomes more stressful and like I said, pressure to keep up with what the other kids are getting and stuff like that. And that can be difficult. It's funny. I still remember this to this day, dude. I mean, I've been around 5 decades now and I could go back to being like maybe 10 years old and I'll never forget this. My parents did the best they could, like most parents every year, decent Christmases, the room was full with gifts. But one year, I think maybe my dad got laid off. I don't know what the whole financial situation was, but I do know my parents were broke that year.
Yeah.
And it was a year that I wanted an Atari and I did not get it. And I don't know, like I said, 10, 11 years old, punk ass little selfish kid, don't understand shit.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it, man. Because I made my mother cry. I said, that's it. Like at the end, because I didn't get, it was one of those years, like I said, where
you're just a kid.
You got a lot of cheap shits, lots of socks, underwear, cheap toys, things like that, things I might have had already or variations of them. And I wanted an Atari. That was the only thing on my mind. And I didn't get it. And I looked at my mom and I pretty much said, that's it. And I'll never forget it, dude. She didn't instantly cry, but like you could see it welling up in her. And
you can feel it,
Yes. Since then, even as a mid-teenager and through my entire adulthood, I've been gun shy about wanting to get gifts. I mean, people always say, "Oh, don't got to give me nothing," especially when you get older and you're getting your kids everything. And they're like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I don't want nothing. Get it for the kids, whatever." Yeah. But I like legit mean that because I still feel guilt because I've kid Patrick looking at his mother saying that's it when I didn't get an Atari that year. That's how disappointed I was and selfish I was at the time.
I have a little personal, like my family was probably on the lower side of middle class most of my life. Too. Like they didn't make great financial decisions. And now that I'm an adult, seeing probably how bad it probably was worse than I knew as a kid. Like they made it feel, we tried to keep up with stuff with people. And I never really felt as a kid left out at Christmas. But now that I look back on it, like my parents probably significantly stressed themselves to do some of the stuff. Like my dad like fought his way through Walmart to get me a Nintendo 64 one year. And like the amount of gratitude I had for it was more expected because I asked for it. And that's like, now that I'm a parent, that I would call my kids spoiled for that type of attitude and try not to have my kid do that. So that's another thing as you become a parent, you realize, you look back on some of that stuff and it's like, wow, I have a lot of resentment towards my parents and I could go off a whole podcast about that. But the fact that they probably weren't in a situation to do the things they were doing, did it for me so that I could have that. And it's when you look back on it, you're more grateful as you age for sure.
Yeah, no question about it. And again, people listening, people watching, it's a cliche thing to say, but it's true, man. Don't stress so much about what's under the tree. Be grateful for the people that are around the tree. I know it's like,
we try to tell people, man, my wife and I don't want anything. We're adults now and we're we can go on Amazon and get the things that we really need to get. And so like when people ask me what I want, it's like I have a very small home. So I don't want more stuff. And so like that, there's another stress to that. When people get you too much stuff, it's nice. Honestly, I want to spend some time with people. I want you to know that I care and spend time with our kids and things like that. Like that's what I want the holidays to be. But get the kids whatever. Like we run through, they'll break stuff. Like we'll go through all the stuff. Let them have their magic. But like as adults, we're really just exchanging like $50. at a time, right? Like my brother and I talked about it last year, a couple years ago. We're like, dude, let's freaking knock it off because we're just going $50 back and forth each way. Who cares? Right. Save your $50. Give us a call. Let's FaceTime or something. Like that's all we need.
Absolutely. That's so true too. When you get to a certain age and you're buying certain gifts for people, you pretty much are just saying, all right, I'm spending 50 on you, you're spending 50 on me, or whatever it may be. Let's just save that. You know, it's funny too, because with my kids, again, this is such a difference. And I've told you this before on previous podcasts. I get a little envious of you sometimes because you're going through the process. You're just starting the process now with raising your kids, and they're going to be getting into stuff and things like that. And one of the things is Christmas every year. And now my kids, my daughter is older. Like she lives with her boyfriend. So my daughter doesn't live here. My son, I still live with my son, but this is the first year. And I've been saying it probably since he was 14, 15. I'm like, you're not going to get all this shit this year for Christmas. This is going to be a practical Christmas. You're going to get a lot of clothes and things you can use. This is the first year where that's true.
Yeah.
He's 20. He literally just turned 20 yesterday, actually on Wednesday. But this is the first year I go through his gifts. He ain't gonna be listening to this, so we don't give a shit.
Yeah,
but it's all clothes. Like I got sneakers and joggers and you know some shirts and shit like that. All clothes, no electronics. First time ever with him.
He may not appreciate that yet. Like it might not be appreciated this year, but there's gonna be a point where that turns for him and he'll see. Because like now that's actually the things that I want the most are the socks and the underwear.
Yeah.
Like I used to make fun of my dad because like that's what his mom would get him every freaking year with more socks and underwear. And like now I'm at that age where it's like I guess I could just use some more of that, some wool socks, some like warm clothes, things like that I just run through, you know.
That's funny. Yeah, I said earlier that I always say I don't want anything for Christmas. That's not true, actually. I say socks all the time. Socks, underwear, or pajama pants allowed around.
Bill stuff. I'm a sucker. Give me some Bill stuff. I can have anything with a Bills logo. I'm in.
That's funny. Yeah. All right, so, I mean, honestly, Aaron, Christmas, on a serious note, I love Christmas, obviously. I know you love Christmas, too.
Big time.
I love it again. I went through a long stretch where I hated Christmas because, and especially on this date. So today people are listening to this anyway on December 23rd. On December 23rd, not to be Debbie Downer here, but I mean, I have to say this, December 23rd, 1990. I was just a teenager. My father died 2 days before Christmas on this date. And so for many years, Christmas was very difficult for me. I don't want to talk about that Christmas and maybe the one or two Christmases after that. One of, if not the darkest time of my life, man. And I used to dread this time of year. And it wasn't until two things. One, I met who would become my wife that changed the game, and gave me something much more positive to look for. And ironically, I ended up proposing to her. Trying to think, 9 years, 10 years to the date of my dad dying. Same date. I think it was 10, if not 9. It was 9 or 10. But anyway, point being.
Were you romantic about it?
No.
Mine wasn't at all.
I'd like a redo. Actually, it was corny.
Mine was not even.
I'll tell you quickly.
Yeah. Let me know.
It was. So I was a bartender a long time ago, and a full-time bartender.
I bet you were good at that.
I was very good at it.
Yeah. You're good. I can carry a conversation.
I drank too much, though. But I drank way too much.
Oh, yeah. You can't drink.
I had a reputation for being, you want to drink it when Pat's working, come behind the bar and make it yourself. Because by halfway through this shit, dude's going to be fucked up. But anyway, I proposed at the bar on a Friday night. It was karaoke. I met my wife. She came to the bar and sang karaoke. And she's a phenomenal singer. I mean, she was in bands.
What song? What's the first song you heard her sing?
Mary J. Blige, Not Gonna Cry.
Hey, she's got some
really
good musical taste.
That was one of her go-to songs. Oh yeah, but anyway, what she used to cross Celine Dion's theme from Titanic.
Yeah.
And I knew. I'm not going to get into my whole history of my relationship with her, but I will say I knew that I was going to propose. I wanted to propose relatively early, so I planned it. It was for our AJ's. That was the bar I worked at, Christmas party. She sang karaoke, and when she was done, everyone knew except her, including I mean, I did the right thing. I talked to her father and got his permission. Her sister and her boyfriend at the time were at the bar, so they knew what was going on. But anyway, she sang. You know how it is when karaoke. Some people pay attention, other people are just drinking, at the bar. Everyone kind of like worked their way towards her, because everybody knew a proposal was coming after the song. So anyway, I went up there and then I don't remember. I grabbed the microphone. I honestly don't really remember what I said. It was pretty corny. Anyway, I mean, it wasn't, I wouldn't call that a romantic proposal. Proposing in front of everybody, all your friends, and a bunch of drunks and patrons and strangers at a bar and putting someone on the spot. Probably not the best proposal ever. But so anyway, that's what I did. Meeting her and that happening helped me get over it. And then obviously having children has changed the game because Christmas became more about them and really brought back a lot of the joy. But yeah, man, for a long time, it was really tough. I was 19 years old when my dad died, and it
I'm really
wasn't
sorry to
from
hear that, man.
cancer. Yeah, thank you. It wasn't from cancer, you know, it wasn't a long illness. It was he had a brain aneurysm and it was instant. Like, you know, you go to your buddy's house one moment, you come back and boom.
Honestly, that's like my biggest fear. I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, and there's like certain things that are so totally out of your control, and like strokes and brain aneurysms and things like that. Especially like the older you get, the more likely it is that you can suffer one. Like the probability just increases. I'm so sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And I am a hypochondriac too. It's funny because my dad died. He was 41, so the whole year I'm well past 41 now. When I was 41, anytime if I got a headache, anything, I was like, I got to go to the doctor.
That's how I am. I'm the same way.
Yep. And I was 19 when my dad died. So my son, he literally just turned 20 on Wednesday. So I was like, please, man, I don't want my son to be 19 years old when I die. But now he's 20. So I feel like I'm going to live forever. So I feel good. But anyway, point being is Christmas was tough for me. I loved Christmas as a kid, except like I said, I kind of ruined it one year with my mother. And then, it was fun again, and then it sucked for a lot of years, but now it's fun. But this weather aside, so obviously you're with your family here in Buffalo, and you're not from Buffalo. You're ready to hunker down if this weather gets as bad as they say it may be. I had no Christmas plans anyway. Like it was just gonna be the family here at the house. Christmas Eve, supposed to go to my wife's sister's house, family gathering, and that's in Orchard Park on Saturday. But I don't know, man. This weather might have some say in that. It's supposed to get, I got a feeling it's going to be really bad. By the way, we were talking about this before we went on the air 3 fucking times before Christmas now. Major weather here in Buffalo. What the hell is going on? I like Buffalo. I don't miss Florida often. I miss Florida right now, though. I'm not gonna lie.
You get major weather in Florida.
Not like this.
Yeah, you do. It's hurricanes. Hurricanes are
not
worse,
on the side. Not on the. Well, you know what? I was going to say not on the side where we lived, on the Tampa side, but that's not true because actually we got one in 2017 and got one this year.
Extreme weather is becoming more common everywhere. I'm not going to get into the whys. People can get to argue out sort that out themselves. That's a good episode maybe for Buffalo Winds to figure out why the extreme weather is coming, but it is happening. Like no matter who you are, where you're from, dude. I've lived in Buffalo for 10 years. Those first 5-6 years, we did not get anything near what we have gotten over the last 3 years. Within the last 3 years, dude, I had the major rain event a couple springs ago, where my entire yard was flooded, and I called plumbers. Everyone's were. Like everybody's basements were flooded. We had more rain in per hour than we've ever received. And those aggressive super rains are more common now in the spring. We've had more wind since the last football season. All this time last year, every game Greg and I talked about, we were talking about, there's some anomaly weather event that's going to be happening, whether it was the wind game with the Patriots, or even that wild card game against the Patriots was -11 with wind chill and 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts. That happened all winter long. I remember having to take all my flags down and things were just blowing all over my street all winter long. And it just seems to be heading in that direction more and more. What I will say is I think this area, whoops, sorry about that. My phone started going live here.
We're not live.
No, we're not live, but me and you were just talking live. But
yeah,
what I will say is this area is better prepared, even in the generational type storms that we continuously get, which again, we can probably talk about the term generational being thrown around every other weekend now. But our town services here in the North Towns are fantastic. My roads will be cleared. They do a good job clearing the trees off the lines in the spring. So we're relying on that to keep the power on. I did finally break down. I told you offline, I broke down and finally got a generator just in case, because I do have a young family. I want to make sure I can stay in my house, get some heat source into my house, keep my fridge going, keep food for everybody. So I did buckle down and buy a generator that we probably can't afford. But I do think that's the new normal here. I think we're going to get storms where it's 60 mile an hour or up to 60 mile an hour gusts is going to be more common. I think these moving lake effect bands, like over the last couple of years, we've seen in the Northtown some lake effect snow, which I never got the first 5-6 years we lived here, not once. We don't get a lot of it, but you can see those bands are starting to move and be wider and bigger. And I'm not a weather nerd. I know if anyone's listening, I'll probably hear about it in the YouTube comments, but it seems like it's just more significant, more often. And we should probably stop calling every single one of them generational and just say this is the new norm.
It is becoming the new norm. I'll tell you what, last winter, I should say, was my first year back in Buffalo after being gone for 6 years.
It was terrible.
It was cold. It was very, very cold, and it was windy. I remember bitching to my friend all the time. I was like, what are we living in fucking Chicago right now? I mean, Chicago's a windy city. I'm like, is Buffalo like the new Chicago? It's already been the same so far this year. And like I said, this is the third time where you get throw in a lot of snow, and it's not even Christmas yet, man. It's just you're right. Maybe it is the new norm. One more thing, and then I want to talk about the Bills. But this does involve a Bills player. Before we talk like actual Bills, I want to acknowledge something, man. I was thinking about this the last couple of days. Seen that video on YouTube with Stephon Diggs and that young fan, Aiden, who lost.
I mean, that must have hit super for you, right?
Yeah. Here's what I want to say. Stephon Diggs might be my favorite player not just on this team. He's becoming one of my favorite Bills players of all time. And he's only been here not even 3 years now, man. And I'm not even talking about on the field. I love watching him play on the field. He's such a great wide receiver, but everything that we heard before Stephon Diggs came to Buffalo screamed diva, and he'll be fine as long as he gets the football 11 times a game. But who knows what kind of behavior he's going to have. What a bunch of bullshit that's turned out to be. Because I'm going to tell you, man, this dude, he's amazing. And a lot of stuff we see on Twitter or social media, and a lot of stuff you don't even hear about that he does behind the scenes for so many people, man. That video, and if you haven't watched, I don't have it here. Like, I can't load it up on the show today, but a young Bills fan lost his father over the past year. How old is this kid, Aaron? Maybe, I don't know, 7, 8.
Yeah,
he's not old.
Young kid.
He's not 10 yet. He's younger than 10. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
He lost his dad suddenly and tragically, and he went to training camp, and Stephon learned about him, and Stephon spent some time with him. Talked to him. The video went viral. It was just awesome to see. And then sometimes, with some players, you see a great moment and then you never hear about it again. Well, anyway, just this past home game, he brought him to the home game, and then he went up to him, and again, this is on video, and hugged the kid, and he gave him sneakers with him and his father, and it got me, man. I got teary-eyed. I'm not gonna lie about it. It's just what an incredible thing to do, man. I didn't have to do that. It's just such a good fucking dude. I'm such a Stephon Diggs fan, as much for things I see him do and say off the field as I am on. Love this guy, man.
I'm pretty sure there's audio somewhere in one of your podcasts. You don't have to go back. We have too much audio probably to find it. Where I said to you, I think the Stephon Diggs trade was the best trade in franchise history.
Yeah, I think so too, man.
I really do. I really do. And there's some significant trades in franchise history.
The Bennett trade is right there, but this trade, and it's funny
because Josh's trajectory, which is this team right now, whether or not they get to a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl, I think even in comparison to those 90s teams, I think this is the best assembled team we've ever had.
Yeah.
Right now. Yes. When healthy.
Agreed. I agree with you. And I'm old enough to not even just be a little youngster. I'm old enough to have been knowledgeable of those Super Bowl teams. And I do agree with you, man. Yeah. It's
here's the other thing about Steph Diggs, dude. Like, and there's no way to quantify this, and it's gonna sound corny, like I'm riding his jock or whatever. But like, some dudes are just cool as hell. Some dudes are just like, everything they do is fucking cool. And even like, dude, Stephon Diggs, I think his fashion is weird as hell. I don't understand it at all, but only he can do that stuff. It's like Jordan in the 90s. He could wear those funky pants that were like up to his belly button, and they're just big and baggy, like Hammer pants out in public. No one else could pull that off. Him and MC Hammer. That's it. And Hammer looked like he was dressing up. Some dudes are just so cool. It doesn't matter what they do. It just looks cool as hell. And Diggs is one of them dudes.
Real quick, I will say this too. The teams in the 90s, they were great teams. this team's a great team, but they're also so much. It's just there's so
They're
much
better
more
people.
like
They're better people.
They're likable. Now, in fairness to this team, when you do a good deed like Stephon does, or a lot Josh Allen, I mean, we see it every week. He brings someone down from the stands and he's chilling with
It
this
gets
some
captured.
kid and some fans. It gets captured. Whereas
Yeah.
a lot of
There's
stuff
the
like
other
that
side of
back
the
in the
coin
day,
there, though, for those 90s guys, is the
that is
other stuff
true.
gets captured
Oh
too.
yeah. Oh yeah, no question about it. But trust me when I tell you, they're probably glad Twitter wasn't around,
Yes,
because
they
the
don't
good
want that.
stuff that wasn't captured, that pales in comparison to some of the other stuff. They should be glad
Yeah.
that wasn't captured. One other thing too, real quick. How often can you say a trade happens where, and I agree with
Everyone's
you,
a winner.
Stephon Diggs, greatest trade the Bills have ever made. Well, if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, you might be saying the same thing right now,
Yeah,
because
for
you got Justin Jefferson out of the deal. That's the greatest trade we ever made.
it is.
It's
I mean,
such a great win-win for both teams,
very
man.
rare.
I love to see that. Anyway, let's take a real quick break and come back. We'll preview this game a little bit, and then we're going to get to our medal stand. We're going right back to Christmas. We're gonna award medals for our favorite Christmas songs and our favorite Christmas movies of all time. Be right back. All right, I'm back here with Aaron Quinn, cover one, just 2 days before Christmas. All right, so the Bills, the weather obviously could always be the great equalizer. I don't care what two teams are playing. Weather could
Do you
be
believe that?
to an extent, but to an extent, sure.
Josh Allen. I used to believe that. Josh Allen is weatherproof, dude. I'm saying it everywhere I can.
Well,
I've seen this dude play out, like, and you're talking about the people that touch the ball the most,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, sure.
I
Well,
think
weather aside, though, here's the deal. I want to look past the Bears. I really do. They're what are they? 3-10, 3-11?
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever they are.
3-11.
They got three. I know they got 3 wins this year. They've been competitive. They've had their moments. Justin Fields kind of has had a sort of Josh Allen 2019 season where he does a lot of dumb things, but he makes some really great plays. I mean, running the ball, he's been fantastic. But anyway, I want to look past the Chicago Bears right now. They just beat Miami. We're on a high from that. We know they got a big game coming up the week after that. But I'm going to tell you, the Houston Texans over the past 2 weeks, even though they fell short both times, they prevent me from totally sleeping on the Bears, because I'm like the Houston Texans, the 1-win Houston Texans. Well, the 1-win Houston Texans 2 weeks ago almost went into Dallas, or they went into Dallas and Dallas literally escaped. And then last week playing the Kansas City Chiefs, they took the Chiefs to overtime. And quite frankly, they should have won that game. I watched a lot of that game. So you look at a shitty team like Houston, going toe for toe any given week with Dallas and Kansas City back-to-back weeks. That kind of has me pumping the brakes at least a little bit on looking past the Chicago Bears.
You know what's good about that, though, is Sean McDermott showing the Bills those examples, right, of recent teams where they've gone in and they didn't play their A game. I do think they're going to prioritize being focused, right? I said this on our show last night, Wednesday night, had my brother on. He's a big Bears fan, so I do know the Bears pretty well. I talk to him all the time. He lives in Connecticut. I live up here, so we only communicate over the phone. But we talk all the time about the Bears, and I do think that Josh Allen touching the ball that much more, like I've seen him do it. Like, I'm not worried about the weather and the situation that he's going to go in. And even if they sleep on this team, the Bills have so much more talent than the Chicago Bears. They should go and just suffocate them in all 3 phases of this game. It should be as easy as it looks on paper. And all that is, to me, is preparation and focus. And granted, there's probably the biggest disadvantage of the weather is this early travel for the Bills, right?
Sure.
Like, is disrupting treatments for guys that maybe needed one more extra treatment so that they could play on a shorter week on Saturday on a really cold field. That might be something where maybe they don't activate a few guys for this game, and that could bite them in the butt. But
minus 11 field temperature, meaning the field's
and it's
going to feel like it's minus
It's in
11.
Chicago. It's going to be tundra, right? Like, that's going to hurt. You've fallen on hard winter soil. Like, that doesn't feel good. So there's some of that. And field, the one thing about this Bears team, they aren't, when you watch them, they're not giving up. Even when they're out of games, like, they're playing, like, it's a bunch of rotational players. That's why they're not good. That's why they're not winning. It's depth dudes in major positions, but they're not giving up. So there's that. They are going to stay in a game. They're going to play hard. They're going to try to put some good film out there. That can be dangerous. And teams like the Eagles and the Bills and the Chiefs, when they roll into town, man, that's the stage for these guys. You personally know some of these guys that are kind of hanging out in the rotational area of the NFL where they're a rotational player. Getting film on against the Bills, that matters, man. So everyone's giving you the best shot. So that's why the every given Sunday matters. The coaches are saying, like, look, everybody's hyping up this Bills team. They think they're going to come in and roll over you guys, punch them in the face. I think the Bills can withstand that, man. We've seen it. That we haven't seen this big of a separation on paper between the Bills and an opponent all year long. The Bills have had a difficult schedule. The worst team they probably played was the Patriots, and the Patriots are probably 3-4 times better than this Bears roster right now. And so I think they just need to come out and establish who is the better team, understand that they got to get through this game, because the next week, not look forward to the Bengals. I'm looking forward to it. The team doesn't, but they do need to be conservative in their approach of preparing for that Bengals game, because that's if you're gonna win home field, man, it's a must win for that Bengals game, right?
If there's a game all season where I think coaching and preparation matters, it's probably none more so than this game, despite the fact that they're playing probably, like you said, on paper, the least talented team, because you can't look forward to the Bengals.
Fields can explode some plays.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I thought this dude was a bum. He ain't a bum.
No, he was my favorite. I called him. I said he's going to be the best quarterback in that draft class. Now in the league, it's hard to find him. But if you want to have one of these top guys, they got to move. Like at minimum, they have to move like Mahomes, and you want them to move like Allen and Lamar. Like if you don't have a guy that can extend some plays against these defenses, you're going to be limited in your ability to have success.
Real quick, I can't help myself to take this detour. But you mentioned your brother, Bears. Doesn't he he does a Bears podcast, correct? He lives in Connecticut.
Yeah.
You grew up in Maine. I wonder, like, you're a Bulls fan, and we've talked about the Bulls several times on this show.
Yeah,
but we never talked about your brother, and he's
a Rockets
Bears
fan
guy. Why are you guys Chicago sports fans with other teams?
So Connecticut's like a weird space, and maybe nobody will understand that besides like people that live in Connecticut. It's New England. People like deep in New England and Vermont, Maine, like don't really totally consider Connecticut part of New England. They think it's more like New York. There's really a split along the river that runs through Hartford, where half the side is Yankees fans, half the side is Red Sox fans. Like it's a common thing where it's mixed. New York, New England, it doesn't really have a home. And so you're limited to some of those teams. My grandfather grew up a Giants fan. There's a lot of old timey Giants fans there from way back in the day. My father was born in the 50s. He grew up a Packers fan when it really started. The Super Bowl started. He was into that. As my brother explained last night, he was an 80s kid. And so he grew up he was watching Packers games with my dad and saw a lot of Walter Payton and just clung to sweetness. And I think, when you're kind of in a nomadic sports land situation, a lot of it that matters is those big markets being in the primetime games, especially in the 80s and 90s. It wasn't the way you have it today, where you have red zone channels so you can watch everybody. Like you were limited to what was on Sports Center on like a Saturday morning that you could see, and what was on Sunday, which you didn't have the slate of games. Even you had like one game in the morning, one game in the afternoon, and that was all you had. And so he got a lot of Bears exposure because Chicago's a huge market, and Walter Payton was freaking nasty in the Super Bowl shuffle, and the Bears were cool. So I think he clung to that.
Makes sense. Sure.
And then in basketball, he's a Rockets fan. Akeem Olajuwon, I think, really stuck with him. He thinks Akeem Olajuwon's the greatest player in the history of the NBA, which I think there's actually an argument for Akeem.
He's up there.
I think he should be definitely in the top 10. I think you could make an argument for top 5 of like all around player ever for Akeem. He's convinced me. Akeem's up there. And then for me, I was born in 84. So really I lined up pretty well, like as my kid is with this Josh Allen Bills team. Like I was hitting that like kindergarten and Michael Jordan, dude. Michael Jordan. I love the Bills collectively. Nothing like I'm a real big basketball fan. I played more basketball than I did football growing up. But the Bills is the greatest to me. Like that's my ultimate drug of choice. But as a kid, dude, Michael Jordan, my room was covered in cutouts. Anything Michael Jordan I had. the coolest freaking dude to ever exist in the sports ecosphere. Like, he was everything to me as a kid, the greatest athlete ever, couldn't do anything wrong. Michael Jordan, if you were my age in the 90s, in the way capitalism was exploding globally and how big these guys were, like, we had, you'll understand because you were a little older than me at the time, but Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson in music, like
Mm-hmm.
these people were larger than life. Like, you
Absolutely.
couldn't ever turn on the TV without seeing them. And I was totally hook, line, and sinker.
When Michael made his video, it had Jordan in it. It
Jam.
was one of the
Oh
greatest
my
things
God.
ever. To this day, I mean, my whole life of watching any sport, I think of the Chicago Bulls, and I was a huge Bulls fan. I wasn't before, and I haven't been since. But that team, they were like rock stars, man. I've never seen a team in any sport that's been, like I said, like the Beatles of sports more than
Yeah.
them. Maybe as an individual, Wayne Gretzky was there when I was a kid, hockey wise, with Michael. But I'm talking about as a team, like the Bulls. They were just like a collection
Some of
of
my like core fundamental childhood, like best nostalgia boosting memories are like Marv Albert calls on a Saturday playoff
yeah.
game in June, where it's just like everybody in the world is watching the Bulls to see if they can continue this run. And dude, The Last Dance is like so much content, and I rewatch that once a year at least. Like,
Yeah.
that nostalgia drug in my brain, I can't get enough.
I love the Bulls. All right. So anyway, I was just curious there.
Yeah.
Going back to this Bills game, weather, you never know. I mean, put it this way: if this game was 42 degrees and not really any wind, I would think the Bills are going to win this game by
Blowout.
four touchdowns for sure. The weather might play a role. When it's -11, that could be a pain in the ass for anybody. So you got that. You got like I said, you're getting thrown off kilter a little bit because you're traveling a day early. Little things. Again, the Bills are used to that, but still, it's a potential factor. Looking forward to a game with potentially huge playoff seeding implications with Cincinnati the following week. All these little things, and then one other thing too. Not a huge deal because they've been dealing with this all year, literally, quite literally. But injuries. I mean, you're not going to see much more Saturday for sure. You're not going to see Boogie Bash. Now, this hasn't been official as we tape this, but they're not playing. Mitch Morris isn't playing Saturday. I don't think Boogie Bash was playing Saturday. Which again, I mean, with Von Miller out too, he's part of that 4-man defensive end rotation. I don't think it's going to hurt them too much against the Bears, so to speak. Mike Love season, I guess, on Saturday. Jordan Poyer's hurt, sort of. He's got a knee thing, but he talked to the media yesterday and says he's playing. By the way, I saw a stat today. Not just this year. The Bills have won their last 14 games. They're 14-0 in games that Jordan Poyer plays. Part of that stat could be overblown, but there's some relevancy in that. I mean, the guy does make plays. So, him being on the field does matter. And you can make an argument that it's not even how great he is, it's how bad the depth that replaces him is when he's not on the field, whether it's Jaquan Johnson or Cam Lewis. I mean, the drop off is ridiculous. But anyway, Mitch Morse, again, this is something they've dealt with several times, unfortunately, over the last couple of years. Ryan Bates hopefully could play, and I think he will play center if he's going. But do you feel like the Mitch Morse injury, at least this week, really matters? It's tough to say because they're playing the goddamn Bears. I mean, let's be honest here.
The Bears got a good amount of pressure on Jalen Hurts, and that's a better offensive line than the
Yeah,
Buffalo Bills
true.
have healthy. So they were doing some new things. I think they are trending in the right direction. So the thing that concerns me about no Mitch Morse is communication along the offensive line. I don't love that. He's really good at that. And just anything that leads to less protection for Josh Allen is a concern for me in a game like this where people are trying to put some stuff on tape, right? They're trying to make that play. Everybody wants to get to Josh Allen and bring him down. Like, that looks great on film if you can do that or get him on the edge. So these are the types of games where you don't really want to expose Josh any more than you have to. You can use him in this weather, but you want to pick your spots, right? You don't want to rely on that. I don't want to see this be a game where Josh Allen is running for his life every time he gets his third step on the drop where he's just got to break the pocket and run for his life. I don't want to see that kind of stuff. I need to see cleaner pockets for him to be able to get the ball out quick into his playmakers' hands. And that will be impacted if Mitch Morse isn't there. It's him and Dawkins, right, that are anchoring this offensive line. And then you're really just like slap and spackle together to put something else out there and then hoping that Josh Allen can do enough to extend plays. I said it yesterday. Somebody I think Matt Perino had posted Roger Saffold's Instagram where Josh got all those guys scooters, really nice scooters. And I've been saying for like the last 3 years, those dudes need to bundle up, like get together and buy Josh something freaking real nice, like a boat or something, because that dude makes them look so much better than this offensive line performs every single week. The way he extends plays, he breaks the pocket. This offense is so heavily reliant on him week in and week out. And I understand when you're playing top tier teams, right? The Bills have had a tough schedule this year, so that's okay. Have issues with tough teams and rely on Josh in those situations. But in a game like this, against a much inferior opponent along every absolute front, lean on Devin Singletary, lean on James Cook, get short passing game going, get some of these guys rolling, work some guys in, take some of the pressure off Josh in a game like this so that you don't put on that high mileage, because we're going to need this guy to win those games and put the team on his back against the Bengals, going forward against the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, you don't need him to play like he had to against Miami last week to get a win.
No.
You don't want him to have to do that against
those days should be over. Those are 2019 days where you are playing against bad teams. Even last year, Josh had to have big performances against like the Falcons and the Panthers. Like, you got to be past that, where you just go in, you take care of business, and you stay healthy.
Yeah, I agree 100% about the offensive line, by the way. Like, if Case Keenum was the quarterback of this team right now, this offensive line would be getting put to task pretty much every single week. And if you want to know Mitch Morris's significance to this team, he was one of 4 Pro Bowlers named on Wednesday too. It was Mitch Morris and Jordan Poyer, both for the first time, and then Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Look, the Pro Bowl don't mean shit. In fact, I don't even think they're playing a game anymore. But I'll say this, now because they're not playing a game, like when they were playing a game, nobody wanted to be in the Pro Bowl. So like being the 5th alternate, like there would end up being 100 Pro Bowlers around the league because people would decline the invitation or they'd get hurt or whatever and then play, and then someone else would be named. And technically that's a Pro Bowler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In this case, they're not even playing a game. So if you're a Pro Bowler, this is like a legit all-star team. You know what I mean? Right now, although fans at least have some say in it. Although Tua was a leading fan vote getter and didn't even end up making the roster anyway. But I don't know. Your thoughts on those 4 guys making the Pro Bowl? And by the way, I'll list these off too. First alternates were Deion Dawkins, Dawson Knox, Milano, and Edmonds. And then second were Saffold and Bass, and a bunch of after that there was like 3rd and 4th alternates, whatever. Roger Saffold being second, no comment. But anyway, the 4 Pro Bowlers. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, totally fine. I do that. Milano got robbed. Everybody knows it. The way they list linebackers and edges needs to change in every facet, even in statistics. The way we choose who is who and where they line up. We need to stop that. And so that's a bummer. I think Milano should be starting. But here's my thing too. They got rid of the actual Pro Bowl, so let's get rid of the whole thing. Like, whatever. There's some guys, Greg mentioned to me, there's some guys that have the contract incentives that they hit, and if they make the Pro Bowl, that's a contract incentive. But maybe we'd find another way to pay those out. They should just add more All-Pro teams and just have all like teams 1 through 4 or whatever for the all pro and call that good and have the AP vote. Let's get the fans out of it. Nobody cares what the fans think. Have, writers and peers or whatever come up with a vote and it be all pro. And then that's where it's at. And your contract incentives are based on that, but get rid of the Pro Bowl. Nobody cares. I take that back. I saw a video the Washington Commanders put out where Ron Rivera was sharing with guys that made the Pro Bowl. And for a team like that, who's had probably a lot of noise because their owner's a complete piece of shit and they have to deal with all that within those buildings, I think people forget, you talked about Stephon Diggs and what a good person he is off the field, but I also think people forget how hard these guys work and that not all of them are your Stephon Diggs and your Josh Allens and stuff like that. Like, some of these dudes are undrafted and have a hard battle to get on a team.
Yep.
One of those guys for them, a special teamer, made the Pro Bowl as a special teamer. He finally got on a team. Yeah, Reeves. And like, you could see the other players' faces when he told them that he was on it and made it. And they're like, wow, like, good for him. And then when he made it, in the moment, like, dude, I teared up watching him just break down and cry. And the amount of work, a lifetime of work that goes into that. You've seen it with your kid getting into college, like that amount of sacrifice and work that everyone in your whole family and everyone surrounding you puts in. And for that moment for it to be appreciated, the Pro Bowl does mean something to people still. So I don't want to talk like that, but as a fan, we could get rid of it.
Reeves, I saw, I I saw a graphic. This guy was like released and signed to a practice squad like 10,000 times. And real quick, too, I can relate to that because I am very close to Damone Harris, who is a Buffalo kid. He was undrafted. He was signed to the Tampa practice squad, went bouncing around back and forth, went to the Baltimore practice squad, got signed to the Chiefs practice squad, got elevated to the roster. I know the trials and tribulations this kid's been through on and off the field. So I'll never forget to this day. I got teary-eyed. They won the Super Bowl the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. He was on the active roster. He played, and he played like 4 snaps. And there was a photo of him with the ticker, all the tape on the field, doing snow angels with them on the field after the game, smile on his face. Still got the picture. And a lot of people would say, well, the kid played 3 plays. I'm like, he's a Super Bowl champion, and you have no idea what he went through to get there. So yeah, man, some of these moments that these guys get accolades or championships and trophies and stuff, it's awesome to see, and much deeper than most people could imagine. Anyway, real quick here too. So Josh Allen, and then I want to get to our medal stand. I think based on the Miami game and just based on his totality of work this year, I think he's right back in this MVP mix. And I know some people don't give a shit, but if you care, if that's your thing, do you agree? Do you think he's right back in it with 3 weeks to go?
Yeah.
I mean, they got the Bengals. So if he goes out and he plays well and they beat the Bengals, you could make a case, hey, and by the way, AFC Player of the Week again, Offensive Player of the Week. I think that's his 3rd time this year.
Yeah, those are getting old. He just puts those in the garage.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, you're a 3-time AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Your numbers look fantastic. You beat Patrick Mahomes on the road, and then you go and you beat Joey, and then you go beat Joey Burrow on the road potentially. I'm talking about
right. They beat all the division leaders.
They beat all the division leaders. I mean, he went through a 3 or 4 week stretch where he didn't play that well especially by his standards.
But the team still won.
To some extent, pretty much all quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, I think, would have been the heavy favorite, but now he's hurt. He's probably out for the rest of the regular season. So you're missing the last 3 games. I think it's Mahomes and Allen right now. I think Mahomes is the edge right now, but I think Allen can overtake him.
If Burrow wins out, maybe.
Yeah. You know what? I should put him in there too. I mean, he beat Mahomes as well. And then if he goes and beats Josh Allen and plays well. So yeah, I think it's a 3-horse race, but I think Josh Allen is
he's definitely back in it. Yeah. I mean, and I don't care about the MVP. Actually, how I hope it plays out is Mahomes or Burrow wins it. I don't care about the individual awards. And I think that'll just piss Josh Allen off to do another like superhero playoff run if he doesn't win the MVP or if it's close and he gets some votes. Like, I hope he gets some votes because I do think he needs to be acknowledged as one of the best 3 players in the NFL right now. But I don't want him. I don't care about the individual success. I just want a championship. Be the Super Bowl MVP. That's cooler.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's.
I want him to be MVP though. I just
I want it for him.
Some cool shit, man.
It's cool that our guy is even in it every single year, right? And I think that's going to be the way it is. Aaron Rodgers was in it every year for 12 years. Like I think Josh Allen, barring any health stuff, I think he'll be in this conversation in December every single year.
Plus, one other thing, too, and all due respect to the 90% of Bills fans who are awesome, if Josh Allen does win out and he plays well and he's deserving and he doesn't win MVP, Twitter might be an insufferable wasteland for a nice stretch. Anyway, you're right. Big game on Saturday.
It's good. It'll piss Josh off. We want that.
Big game on Saturday, only because not for the division anymore, because I feel like that's pretty much not officially, but I still think it's a big game because the Bills win out, they get home field advantage for the playoffs. That's big. If they win 2 of the last 3, and one of them's against Cincinnati, they're going to get the 2nd seed for the playoffs. So, and that's big too, Aaron, because even if you can't land a 1, like say if they slip once, say it's against the Bears or the Patriots, they could slip in one of those games, but beat the Bengals. Being number 2 does matter because you're talking 2 home playoff games. And if you have to play the Bengals, because I think whoever's not the 2 will be the 3 if Kansas City's the 1, if that's the way it plays out. You want to play in Buffalo. So I do think it's I think Cincinnati is very important. I think all 3 of these games matter because you want to be the 2. Anyway, let's get to our medal stand. For new viewers, new listeners, every week Aaron and I do a medal stand. Basically, I take 2 topics and we award medals. Bronze, silver, and gold. So basically we're kind of more or less ranking our favorite 3 things of something. This week, again, being 2 days before Christmas, this is a no-brainer. We're going to do Christmas movies and we're going to do Christmas songs. We're going to put those on the stand. Let's start with Christmas movies real quick, though, before I turn this to you and you pick yours. I tried really hard this year. I think I've watched 11
You did watch more than me.
Christmas movies for 2022. There's none that are classics. Like there's none that I think 5-10 years from now people are going to watch and talk about a lot. Maybe A Christmas Story, Christmas, the sequel to A Christmas Story, maybe, but I don't think it's that good. Like a lot of people don't think A Christmas Story is that good. We'll find out if you agree in a second here. Couple decent ones. The one with Lindsay Lohan, Falling for Christmas, was decent, but yeah, there's 2022, no classic Christmas movies to be found. Anyway, on that note, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Put them on the medal stand. Favorite Christmas movies?
So this obviously, just like all my medal stands, is subject to change year in and year out, because I have some takes out there of where I have these things ranked year in and year out. It's where I'm at right now in the moment when Pat asks me
I
my
agree.
medal stand.
Same,
But
same.
for movies, it pretty much rotates. These three kind of hang out. And in bronze this year, I have The Santa Claus, the first one, Tim Allen. Freaking love it.
Yeah.
It hits up exactly with that same age we were talking about as a kid. I forget what year it came out, maybe like 93 or something like that. It was early 90s. Hits really home for me in the nostalgia. Number two, this one's actually one that I did not watch a ton as a kid on the silver here. It is Christmas Vacation, Chevy Chase's Christmas Vacation. My parents were more Christmas Story. I feel like people are pretty split on these two particular movies. Like you were either a Christmas Story person or you're a Christmas Vacation person. And I actually like them both. I like both movies, but my wife's family is very much Christmas Vacation people. And that's their like what they watch on every Christmas Eve with the family. They say the lines over and over again. And honestly, it's grown on me as I've become part of that family, and it kind of merged our traditions. I think it's a top three, just its own, the references in pop culture of Christmas from that movie are so great. Like, I think that it has to be up there just from a pop culture standpoint. And then this year, my number one, which has not been my gold medalist in any, or my number one in any power rankings ever until this year, is Elf. Elf is an absolute fantastic movie. It is one that you can watch with every single age. That is funny. It's laugh out loud funny. Like the Santa Claus feels cool. It's a cool rendition of Christmas and that story of Santa Claus. There's not a ton of like where everybody on the couch is giggling and laughing, and Elf has that. It's family friendly. It hits all the Christmas vibes. It's well written and it holds up over time. It is an absolute classic. So I think it always deserves to be in the top three. And this year it's taken over my number one. Dude, my 6-year-old and 4-year-old laugh harder when he's in the shower or in the locker room and singing, and they're singing and she like screams and he covers his eyes and runs into the locker. That alone but blasted it to gold for me here this year. So it's a fun one, and it makes me feel old because I always felt like that's like a newer Christmas movie, but now it is not a newer Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's
like
not new anymore.
Yeah,
Man.
no.
You are getting old.
Yeah.
I want to point out to people too. I give Aaron these topics. I don't know what he's going to say until you say it. So I'm learning what your picks are, just as everyone watching and listening are. Honorable mention: Santa Claus, the first one anyway. I thought the Santa Claus 2 was not good, but I'm not a big Tim Allen fan. Love that. Also, Just Friends, I'm going to give honorable mention to.
Okay.
Never thought of that as a Christmas movie, but people keep pointing it out. There's a lot of shit that's going on holidays. Not going to get in a movie because we're kind of short on time here. But anyway, that's my honorable mention. My bronze, The Preacher's Wife, which I just watched for the first time last year, believe it or not.
Was that on my recommendation?
It was on your recommendation.
It's such a good movie.
Love that movie. Whitney Houston, Denzel Washington. What a feel-good movie, man. A very emotional movie. I love that movie, man. So that's going to be my bronze. The streak is over because we have not picked something that was the same in at least a couple weeks now. My silver is also National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So awesome. I agree with you on that. My gold probably has always been my gold, or at least for several years now. Scrooge. I just love Scrooge. I love the take on
that would be an honorable mention for me.
Bill Murray was so good back in those days, man. He was on top of the game. He was one of the best. So I love Scrooge.
Our producer on Cover One Buffalo, Chris Kepner, he's on a movie run right now. He's got a kid a little bit younger than me, and he was doing kind of what we have done over the past few years of like going on a run. And he asked me about Scrooge. He hadn't seen it since 20 years ago or so. And he's like, I didn't love it then, but I love Bill Murray. I was like, dude, if you love Bill Murray, like it's such a weird movie because like as a kid it scared me, and it's so well done, but at the end is so feel good. It might be the best version of the Christmas Carol feel good part. Another honorable mention, if you haven't seen it, The Night Before. That's not a family Christmas movie. It's the Seth Rogen dude from Third Rock from the Sun.
I've seen that. Yeah.
That is, to me, laugh out loud funny every single time. So over the top hilarious. Not a family one, but we watch when the kids go to bed every Christmas Eve. We watch that one. My one necessity on a Christmas movie is it's got to feel good. I want to feel good when it's over. You know, Jack Frost, I remember with Michael Keaton, pretty good movie, but I'm like, the dude fucking died. He comes back and he's haunting his son. It's weird.
I can't get down with that shit. Anyway, all right. So now we're on to favorite Christmas songs. Floor's yours. This is going to be hard, by the way. This is not easy.
The Christmas songs. So this one's not super hard for me. Again, I think I kind of rotate here at the top lately anyway. And for Christmas songs, I do think people should look into some of the newer stuff there. There's a lot of great new stuff over the last 3-4 years. But for the bronze, I'm going with, which is actually probably the best actual song on this list, and you could listen to it any time of the year, is This Christmas by Donny Hathaway. That's an absolute banger. Like that, Donny Hathaway, and anything to do with Donny Hathaway, I'm probably biased there. That he's just special to me, and that's a very good song. Number 2, this is a battle that I go kind of back and forth on every year.
Silver. This is your
silver. Sorry, silver. Yep. My silver medal goes to Underneath the Tree by Kelly Clarkson.
Love that song. Love Kelly Clarkson.
And this every year, gold and silver, I battle back and forth. Gold is All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah. I think there's two powerhouse. Feel good, get you vibing for Christmas songs, and I think that's the queens of Christmas battling it out at the top every year.
I'll tell you this right now, man. Kelly Clarkson is modern, but she sounds old school. Like her song's going to be around 50 years ago. Honorable mention: Stevie Wonder, Someday at Christmas, and Wham! Last Christmas. Jingle Bell Rock too. I like that. My bronze, old classic, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. Like that song a lot. Silver, Oh Holy Night, but it's the Celine Dion version. I think it's the best version ever of that song. And goddamn, she just absolutely crushes it. My gold, again, did not know you were going to say that. My gold, Donny Hathaway, This Christmas. That's my gold. It's my favorite Christmas song. And I'll give you one real quick.
It's a beautiful song.
Donny Hathaway, for me, is my favorite male vocalist of all time. More than Stevie Wonder, more than Marvin Gaye, more than Smokey Robinson, who I love Smokey. I think Donny Hathaway had the best voice. So tragic how life came to an end abruptly for him in short. But anyway, man, that was all right. So we agreed on 2 things. We agreed on the silver for Christmas.
Must be the Christmas season.
Must be. All right, guys, follow Aaron Quinn on Twitter at Aaron Quinn 716. You guys are weather pending. If everyone doesn't lose power, you're going to do a post game for the Bears on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, we'll be here for Christmas Eve, most likely. I'll have a generator at least. You might hear it in the background. I'll be running something. We'll be up and running.
All right, guys, make sure you check that out. Be safe. The weather is going to suck. And how bad it gets remains to be seen, but it's going to get shitty. So be safe. And again, enjoy Christmas, man. Take it for what it's supposed to be. And thank you, man. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Aaron. Buddy. And I'll be back next week. Brand new episodes. Take care, guys.